Back in the summer of 2008, the sprinting prodigy Usain Bolt was setting a new standard for world record breakthroughs. On May 31st, he set a new 100-meter record at 9.72. In the Summer Olympics in Beijing, he set another 100-meter record in 9.69 seconds. And then to cap off his flawless Olympic campaign, he also won the 200-meter gold in yet another world record time of 19.30 seconds, taking down the nearly impossible-to-break 19.32-second performance set by Michael Johnson in 1996. Looking back, this season has to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest sprinting season of all time. In total, he broke the 10-second barrier in the 100 meters a total of 10 times, he broke the 20-second barrier in the 200 meters a total of 6 times, and even though his competition in the Olympic Games was set to be one of the most competitive in history, his victories were so incredibly massive that they brought forth two of the most iconic moments in Olympic history. It's difficult to describe just how successful Bolt's 2008 campaign truly was, and even though many look back on this season as the single greatest sprinting campaign in history, there was one race that took place just 1 month before the Olympics that prevented Usain Bolt from completing a perfect sprinting season. On July 22nd, just 23 days before his very first race in Beijing, Bolt towed the line in the men's 100-meter dash in Stockholm, Sweden. Heading into this race, Bolt's 2008 season was literally perfect, as he had already won 11 straight races, including a world record back on May 31st. It goes without saying that he was expected to win this race, but over the next 9.88 seconds, one man managed to take down the sprinting giant. With one of the greatest starts in sprinting history and incredible form over the final stretch, Powell somehow managed to outlast Usain Bolt, making this victory one of the most stunning and impressive feats in his career. This was quite the win for Powell over the rapidly rising Bolt, and even though their matchup at the 2008 Olympics was set to be historic, Powell only managed a time of 9.95 seconds, falling far away from the podium in 5th place. For one reason or another, Powell never quite found his stride when it came to World Championship or Olympic events. But outside of these global championship moments, he continued to be one of the most dominant forces in sprinting history. After this Olympic disappointment, Powell proved to the entire world that he was still one of the premier athletes in sprinting, and then on September 2nd of 2008, he dropped an absolutely epic time of 9.72 seconds, falling only 3/100ths of a second away from Usain Bolt's world record. Also running in this exact race were the silver and bronze medalists from the Beijing Games, Richard Thompson and Walter Dix, and even though their times in the Olympics proved to be much faster than Powell, this race proved to be a much different story, as Asafa Powell absolutely walked over his competition for this 100. For the remainder of his 2008 season, Powell maintained incredible form, running well under 10 seconds for each remaining 100 meters. And then, in yet another incredible clash, on September 5th in Brussels, Belgium, Powell was once again set to race against Usain Bolt. For this race, which would ultimately prove to be Bolt's final race of the season, the field was set to run in far from ideal conditions. On the day, the weather was cold, it was wet, but worst of all, the wind was blowing directly into the athletes' faces at negative 1.3 meters per second. With all of these negative conditions, it seemed quite unlikely that anyone would manage to run under 10 seconds for this race, even for Asafa Powell and Usain Bolt. However, for this final 100-meter matchup, both athletes showcased incredible resilience. With yet another incredible start, Powell had a pretty significant lead by the halfway point. However, for this race, Bolt powered home with extraordinary speed, ultimately winning this 100-meter dash in 9.77 seconds, taking down Asafa Powell, who still ran a magnificent time of 9.83. Given the terrible conditions for this race, these times are actually quite remarkable, and for Powell, this 9.83 in the wind and the rain would have been more than enough to medal in the 2008 Olympics, but unfortunately, Powell was never quite able to put his form together during the Olympic Games, as he was never quite able to bring home an individual Olympic medal. For this 2008 sprinting season, Bolt completely revolutionized the sprinting world. However, there was one athlete that managed to take down the sprinting legend, and his name was Asafa Powell. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, until next time.